So hi everybody and welcome back to this Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 128 and in this video we talk about creating our own collisions. The problem was in our last video that when we used complex collision, which is a very accurate collision but a very expensive collision, sometimes depends on the surface. If it's not flat, it's expensive. If it's flat, it's not so expensive. And for these cases where the surface is not flat, we have to create our own collision or try one of the default collisions. So in this video, we create in a third-party software our own collision. The third-party software can be any modeling tool. I use in this video Blender because it's free and everyone can use it. And yeah, I will use this one, but I'm not a designer, which means I'm not very good in designing, and I'm also not very good in using Blender. I'm still learning it, and I make it very short. So we will not go and dive into Blender modeling in this thing. I only show how you create the things, what you have to consider, and then I show you how Unreal Engine 5 is treating this kind of stuff. All right, let's get into it. First of all, I open up here a page, it's the Unreal Engine 5 documentation. This page is important because it says here FBX static mesh pipeline. It talks more about this FBX file, but while it is talking about this FBX file, it is also mentioning how to treat collisions. And what I mean with that is in the third-party software, which we will go use, in this case Blender, when we create just normal static meshes in Blender, we can convert them Unreal Engine can convert them in collision boxes. And we have just to follow this little description here, which says if you use this naming convention, you can choose one of them and read through which you want. In this video, I will use this one, but you have, of course, the other ones as well. Possible, and read them through if you need them. And yeah, if you use this naming convention for the static mesh, which means just you name your static mesh with this prefix here, and then here your static mesh name, and then after this one the different numbers of collisions you have, and then you Unreal Engine will convert this to a collision box in Unreal Engine, even though it is a static mesh box in the third-person software. So, but here, this is very important to understand, perhaps, this box here, what is allowed and what is not allowed. And there are more things to read, so you have to read this one as well. And I will mention this one here too, perhaps. That's also very nice. We have to consider that when we create collision, it should have a little gap as well if we create another collision. So they should not the collision boxes should not overlap each other or touch each other, because it can cause problems. So keep this in mind, make all time a gap so the program can realize this one is not overlapping, it's its own collision, and here we have a little gap, and then continue with the other collision, for example, if we make something like that. But first, let's try to understand what it means, this convex object, and it says here yes, and it says here no. So that means if you create in your 3D software static mesh object, it says just if you create a face or this plane here, it must look like this so that it can't be auto-completed. What means auto-completed? Auto-completed means here, for example, if the engine tries to find one corner, for example, one vertex, and tries to connect another vertex, it must be all time the shape form. For example, let me show you that a little bit in Paint, and what I mean with that. Let's say I have this this right form. This right form is this one. Okay, my drawing is very bad. Sorry for that, but that's not very important. Important is now here in this case it's already full mesh. It can't be auto-completed because it will try to find another vertex and try to connect this. For example, this one and this one. Okay, don't forget my drawing. That was too bad. Think about it, it's a straight line. And think about it, this one is a straight line and this one as well. So what I mean is, if you try to find from this vertex to this vertex a straight line, it will try to do this in this version. But if your object is already in this form where it's not finding any straight lines on vertices, then it's okay. It's a strange explanation. Let me explain it better with the wrong one, then you understand it even better. Let's make the wrong example here. Here in this case it says, for example, I can find vertices, for example, to this one, and here are vertices, and I can connect them. Autocomplete would try to connect these vertices with these vertices, and that's wrong. That's not allowed. So you must create shapes when you create meshes later in your program, that this can't be happen. So you have all time to think, if you can find two vertices and connect them, there must be already, also your shape must look like already it is covered this space. For example, here in this bad example, we found here are vertices, we found here are vertices, we can connect them, which is bad. And here the other one, it's similar on the bottom here with the hole. It's, for example, the outer shape is right because it finds not here any vertices, but in the middle it says here, yes, in the middle it says here is a vertex and here is a vertex. I don't know what it says here exactly directly, I have not watched it, but this one is also not. It will try to fill this one here. With other words, it will try just to create again here connections here through this one here and try to make triangulars probably. And okay, this one I don't know. This one you have to check, but a similar mechanism probably. Just think so. Important is just think so. If you can connect this one with another vertex, that's not allowed if it's possible. And if it has a hole in the object, it's also not allowed. So that's the simple rule, instead of thinking too complicated. And if you want to know why this is not allowed, you can read the technical documentation and what it is. So let's go on. With this understanding, we can continue now. We know we have to create any shape which is which can't be auto-completed, which means here I can auto-complete this plane, no, or it has no hole. And yeah, interesting is in our case we can create this kind of strange shapes, or we can even create, for example, just simple one. In this video I want to use really simple cubes one, but of course if you are good in designing, and you should adjust the shapes the needs, right? So let me go to Blender for a moment, and I go and I have already created a little bit something here. Really bad because I wanted not to waste time because I'm very slow in designing. And what I did here is simply just use a circle and made it like a pipe. So let me show you. Let's go here. Shift 8 you can make here. Shift 8, add a mesh, go to the pipes. For example, if you wanted to create a pipe like this one here, let's grab this and put this here. You see this pipe example I showed you, I think, in Unreal Engine as well. Then you can make something like for this too, but this pipe will take too much time. That's why I'm not using this one, but I'm using instead this circle here, which I have set up. It's a circle, and then what I did is I just created some cubes, and you can see I created here on top a cube, here a cube, another cube, and I have scaled this cube a little bit. And these cubes which I made are really bad. Why is this bad? Because normally what you want to try to do is with these cubes is cover exactly, let's go in this fly mode a little bit. I can't fly, here. So what you normally want to do is go now here and try to match the form of your static mesh. And you can see that can take really time. So the designer must be good And yeah, or create some collision boxes like this static mesh cube. These cubes will be converted later to these collision boxes, right? They are just simple cubes here. Actually, what I did is I just renamed them. Here on the side you can see I just renamed this static mesh cubes, and yeah, that's all what I did here. And then I aligned them here. And of course, this collision box is really bad what I made. You can see it's not covering the side here. Here it's covering a little bit. Normally what you have to do is select one of these cubes, and then probably, if you are a little bit more skilled than me, go to here, then grab, go a little bit, make it a little bit little, right? Something like so. And then you say, okay, now I can grab this one here and put it here as one additional collision box. Let's put it here, and then rotate this probably. Let's rotate this in X, no, Y, no, Z. No, it was Y. Okay, I don't know. You changed the rotation here. It's not very working well because I have to set now the pivot here. And yeah, that takes too much time. That's why I skipped this, because this modeling thing you have to learn separately. If you make this, right? It can make fun, it can make not fun, depends what you like more. For me, it's fun, but I'm more the programmer. I like programming a little bit more, but this one is also fun. The problem is with modeling and design, it takes a lot of time to make it accurate. So to make something like that, it takes no time, because it's absolutely not accurate. But to make it right, it takes really time. So that's after you have added your static mesh cubes in my case, and you see the form here can't be auto-completed. What I mean with auto-complete, let's go here to our example again. It is a form which can't be auto-completed, which means I can't find here in my cubes, which I created here, which is, let me copy this one here, paste it again, and grab it, and here. This form here can't be auto-completed. All vertices are already in the form. That is right. So, and here and then after you made this cubes one, then you rename them like they said here in the description. You start with this UCX. I did this, UCX. Important, the render mesh name must be now this collision box name, also this cube here must be the same name what you want to use for the collision. It says here I created it for this circle here, which I created. I have extruded it, so it's not a circle, it's more like a tube now. And yeah, and then you say, okay, UCX circle, and then how many you got. So I got here now 5. That's why here are the numbers which you put in the sharp. So I did then 0, 1 for this one, and then so on. You see, they have just all time the same naming, circle, and then I differentiate these collisions here with 0, 1, 0, 2, and so on. Important thing here, don't do a merge here. So normally what you can do is, hey, I can select this one, select all, and now I can merge this one all to one object. There is a joint command, so they are merging all this one to one object. So then you have them merged all together, and then you say, okay, I call them UCX circle 01, and that's it. That's not working. Why not? Because the problem is, again, the Unreal Engine will try to connect them anyhow. They must be separated, right? If you merge them, then they have not again this form here probably, and Unreal Engine will try to connect this. Yeah, it will try to make a collision box out of this one, and that will not work, and it will go through. So don't make this mistake to merge them. You need them really separately here. And with that said, that's it normally. To make a collision, of course, remember, you have to spend here time to make this a little bit accurate, not like me. You can see it here. That must be now set here, 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 or accordingly. But I skipped this section, and You can make it if you have time. It's very worth it. Time is worth it. Depends on the settings, and I will show you what I mean. And with that said, let's export this, and then you can here also important, you have to select all here, and then you can export this one. For example, here, let's export this one. I have set this already. No, I have not. Okay, then I set it up fast. Then selected objects, I have them selected here. Just the mesh. Forward is X, up is Z. Apply transform, yes. Geometry, we smooth all time faces, I think, in this case. And what we set here, this is okay. Armature, we don't have anything here normally. And animation, we don't have anything here. And we can go, and I call this one here 4 because I already tested this one out. Let's call this 4 and find here the project folder with Unreal Engine. Where is that? In my documents probably. Here, Unreal projects, and here I use this one here. This is my game folder, and here we must go to content, and in this case I go to Blender because this one comes from Blender. Of course, you find your object, your folder, and then I export this one. So with that said, we can go now to Unreal Engine, and all this UCX names will be converted to collision boxes in Blender, in Unreal Engine, and we can see this. Here is this import. I have set this up already a little bit, so I can skip here going through. So you go here through and set this accordingly what you need. In my case, I deselected here all, and yeah, most time I deselected many things here, and I make here just import. And in this case, we have no material, and so, but that's okay. I show you just a collision here. And now I go to the Blender folder, and now I go to 4. This is this one which we have, and we can test it. So this is the Blender file which we have created. You see here are no boxes compared to Blender because this static meshes are converted to collision boxes. All this UCX are converted to collision boxes. So they are here, but they are here as collision boxes. And how we can see that, if I double click on it, then we are again in this collision window here, or let's say static mesh window. And then here I go to show, and then if I click here simple, and here you can see my collisions which I created. Yes, so you can see these are not very nice, but they are working. And this one will cause problems here. This collision here will cause big problems because now I will collide here and here. That was a very bad thing. You see, you need to work here a little bit also precise, not like me here. But that was just for demonstration, and we can test this. Let's scale this one up because, oh, let's scale up a little bit. Now I have scaled it up. Let's place it here in front. Let's rotate this. And let's go here. And let me start this. And you can see here I can go in. I have collisions here. And here you can see I have here bad collisions. I have still collisions, but really bad. And that's why you need work here accurate. We can see the collision settings here will be really, yeah, that's it. Sometimes you have to work on these collisions. So the last thing what I want to show is it worth to do this or not? Because it's a very valid question. You have to ask yourself, do I spend really time to set up collision myself and all this kind of stuff? And keep in mind, holes and kind of stuff is very hard for Unreal Engine to do. So you have probably set up this collision on your own if you make something like holes and don't want to use complex, but let's compare them. So this is the last thing what I do now. And how we compare them, we go here to this one here and we just activate here in our show place here on top. We go and activate complex. And when we compare this and you say, wait a minute, the other one is complex. Okay, it's more accurate, but okay, it's a little bit more, but it is not that much more, right? So you can say perhaps you can say I can live with this collision here, what it was created with complex in this case, and perhaps you are right. Because if I would make these collision boxes here a little bit more accurate, you will see that we will end up probably similar to this complex collision. So if we make this a little bit more accurate, we will come near to this complex here. And the work was not worth it probably in this case. But now comes the real catch. The real catch comes here. If you say, if this here is your final product, I would go probably more for complex, right? Because if I make this accurate, okay. But let's say this one is not your final product. Let's say this pipe I want use as a, let's say, as a hole, and a hole where I go through and fight enemies and something like that. And of course, I want make not a simple pipe when I make a hole, right? You want make something more, let's say in my case, you see this is a graveyard, so let's make a more graveyard hole, which looks a little bit more dangerous, something like that. And what I go to do is go here to modeling tool. I have selected my created tube here, and I go here down to displacement, for example, the form, and I say now I make a really cool hole. That looks danger. Yeah, that looks much more like a danger thing. Of course, you would go here and make it a little bit more. Let's displace it a little bit more. Yeah, that's a crazy hole now. And this looks like a really graveyard hole, something like that. And then I say accept here. And interesting is, you see this, the shape is similar, right? The shape is still like my base shape here. That's very important here to know. And the only thing which is changed here really is just it looks better like anything like a real graveyard hole. And yeah, and then of course you have to make something. So now when I start this one, you see I have created now a cave which looks more danger, which can be used perhaps and change here a little bit, there a little bit, and so on. The problem now here is, or let's say the good thing now here is with our collision, this one works here. Our collision is working here too. If we made this precise a little bit, it will work here too, right? Let me go here to the select mode so this is not disturbing. So our collision is working, so no worry. This will work here too. The problem is now here, look what happens to our complex collision. That went crazy. Just this one static asset, because I wanted to make it more cool, more like I said, like this shape here with graveyard, more not even surface. It's an uneven surface. And this complex collision is really trying to create an accurate surface. It will create so many triangles to make an absolute perfect surface. And you see what happens here. This collisions here went crazy. It's around more than probably around 100,000 or whatever. And my collision, what I made, even if I would make it accurate a little bit more, it will be around, let's say 100, or let's say we have 200, right? It's still better than here 100,000 or something like that. So you see the difference, and you can see it is probably worth it to learn it. Even yeah, if you need something like that, yes, I would say it's definitely worth learning it. And instead of using complex collision, because this complex collision with this high density and so can probably drop your frames, and that is the last thing you want. Depends on your games, of course, but in general you don't want that your games frames is dropping. You want that the game frames are all-time high, so it has no lag effect, and overall good smooth gameplay. Okay, I hope I could explain the need of this kind of things if you are using this one. But here one more note perhaps important is in many games they don't use something like that. You will see in many games they use just flat things like this here, right? So for example, houses are flat, or stations, I don't know. Most time they use many flat objects. Then I think if you use really only flat objects, you could even use this complex collision, because the complex collision reacts on flat things. Let's see, I open up this one here. You can see here is really flat, right? And here the complex collision is still more than the normal collision, but not that much, right? Still useful. With other words, you can check all time and decide on your own, is it worth it to make here really collisions on your own, or just say this is flat, we can use this are only around, don't know, 20, 30, that's okay. As long as it's not 100,000 and more, it's okay. Something like that. You can decide this. And later you have also there are profiling tools, so testing tools, and more other tools to check if this has an impact of your frames or not. So I think with that said, I stop here and hope that helped a little bit. And yeah, if you have any questions or any complaints or any tips and tricks or suggestions, just write them down in the comments. See you in the next. Bye and good luck.